Hello and welcome to Inside Music, episode number 105. I'm your host, James Shotwell, and it's great to be with you again. I know it's been a couple of weeks since the last episode, and that is completely on me. I've been traveling a bit, spending some time with my parents, but everyone's good, everyone is healthy, and things are going fine. I figured since I was in Michigan, where my parents live, I might as well interview some Michigan artists, and that's what we're going to hear over the next couple of episodes. This episode, is with Leo Bautista, the man, the myth, the legend behind Rival Summers. And if you don't know what Rival Summers is, it's Leo. He's a multi-instrumentalist and singer-songwriter who has built a career by sharing his narrative, his life story, with whoever's willing to listen. And in 2016, Leo discovered that was quite a few people as his fans donated over $10,000 to help him spend a month living in California with My American Heart founder, vocalist Jesse Barrera working on what became his best work to date, Undeniable, a record that is exactly what its title claims to be. Leo makes pop music with a tinge of rock and a tinge of the 1980s, but considering he's only 24 years old, I don't really think the 80s part is all that intentional. It's good, but maybe not intentional. Leo compares himself to artists like Jack's Mannequin and the Rocket Summer, but there is still something about what he's doing that is unique unto him, and that's what I like about him. Even here in Michigan, there's nobody that really sounds like what Leo's doing, and that's why I wanted to have him on the show. Also, because a lot of you already know parts of his story, and you told me to check out Undeniable. It was listeners of Inside Music that actually suggested Leo in the first place, and here he is. But we also talk about where we have this conversation, and let me tell you why. There's this place in Detroit called A Simple Sound. It's inside an old church. It was built in the 1800s, the late 1800s, before the famous Detroit train station, which actually sits like 200 yards away from this place's front door. And what A Simple Sound is it's a community for artists. Once it's completed, it's in renovations right now. It'll be a multiple recording studio / community center / collaboration center / artist development mecca for Michigan artists and artists of all shapes and sizes who want to come to there. It's going to be a place where a lot of great music is made by a lot of creative minds, and it was a cool place to get to be with Leo because he just recently became an artist in residency there. And at the top of this conversation, you're going to hear him telling me about the building and this new thing that's happened in his life. Being an artist in residency means he'll be able to record more, get more music out, and hopefully sooner, because it actually took 6 years to make his last record. Now, before we get to this conversation, there are a few things I need to cover real quick, but I'm going to try to get through it because I really think you're going to enjoy everything Leo has to share in this episode, and we're going to play a lot of his music, so that's also a plus. First and foremost, this episode of Inside Music is brought to you by Holix, the music industry's leading digital promotional distribution platform. What that means is that Holix helps record labels, independent artists, management, actually anyone that wants to share music do so without fear of piracy on beautiful, easy to customize web pages that come with no banner ads and no outside noise. This is your page for your music, and you can share it without fear of piracy, and Holix makes that very simple. And if you want more information on how to do that, visit holix.com, HAULIX.com. There's even a free 30-day trial, so there's no risk in giving it a shot. Get your music in front of people today and give Holix a try. You should also follow us on Twitter, @InsideMusicPod or @InsideMusicPod. Post a lot of updates on the show and a lot of news and information related to life in the music industry. Finally, I really want you to spend some time with Rival Summers. Undeniable is a fantastic record, but really everything Leo's put out since he was 15 years old is worth your time. And I know that sounds crazy because most of us, when we're 15, we're kind of idiots. We think we're smart, but once we're 20, 25, 30, as we get older, we realize we were incredibly naive. And that's kind of what makes life so wonderful at that age. But Leo's been at it for a long time, and in this episode, you're going to hear his whole story. And right before we get there, we're going to listen to my favorite song he's ever written and recorded. It's called Stay. It's available on all music networks, platforms, what have you. And I'm going to play a chunk of it, and then I want you to go out and buy it because it's that good and it's worthy of your time and money. So listen to Stay, and then enjoy my conversation with Leo. Thanks so much for listening.
Laying on the couch with brothers around us when we were watching a movie when we noticed the sunlight outside. Lost track of time and I knew you had to work in the morning. I could tell that you were fighting to open your eyes. Log me up to my car, wrap you up in my arms.
want to memorize it at some point. But one of the other partners named Garrett, he always makes sure to bring up the history of this place, because this place was opened as a church in like the late 1800s. And over like 100 years, it had passed through so many different denominations of churches, so many different like belief systems, and so where it stands now, Assemble, there's so many people who had come to this building to like under a common belief.
Yeah.
And so Assemble like continues that lineage of like coming together under the belief that under the belief that like there's so much more success and so much more growth in collaboration in community.
All right.
Yeah, and so that's where the whole like idea, the whole like imagery of a church, like it's not affiliated with a church or anything at all, or any sort of religious affiliation, but it is a space where people come to enjoy that.
And I think some people might consider it a holy place eventually. It's like, it can be a holy place for music.
Yeah, it is pretty spiritual. Like, it's a completely, like, I mean, if you're a musician and you have your own space at your own home, you're playing in your bedroom, like, and then you come into this place and start, like, you know, collaborating with other people, this space is, I can attribute to it being something that, like, brings out something special.
Yeah.
Just being in this special place.
Now, have you recorded here yet?
I've sat in on a ton of. I've been around here for the last like 2 years or so.
Okay.
And kind of just like bopping around, being here whenever I can. Before I actually became like a resident artist, which literally just happened like a few days ago, which is pretty cool.
All right.
Yeah,
so
but
in the future.
yeah, but beforehand, the cool thing about this space also is that like it encourages, they encourage people to sit in on other people's sessions and to learn from each other. And so I did a lot of that over the past couple of years of sitting in like a lot of different sessions and playing on a lot of different people's stuff, because I mean I'm a multi-instrumentalist and they have like instruments and stuff all over the place, and so if somebody needs somebody and if they're in the building, like they'll be like, hey, could you just lay down this guitar track for me or something. And so I've done a lot of that.
Okay.
I've lost count of how many projects I've been a part of at this point. But I've yet to work on my own stuff here.
So when did we're gonna have to go all the way back to like the start of your music stuff. But before we get there, so
Yeah.
Where did you record the last Rival Summers thing?
Yeah, so Undeniable is the last like full project that I did, and I went out to San Diego and recorded with the producer Jesse Barrera. He used to be
My American Heart.
Yeah, he used to be in My American Heart, and so that's how I knew of him. I was a huge My American Heart fan, and then he started recording his own like solo stuff, working with other people, and then I was putting some stuff out on YouTube sometime around 2010, and he reached out to me like around then.
Weird.
Of being like, hey, I like your stuff, I like your sound, I'd love to work on a record with you one day. But like I was, that's like 7 years ago now, so I was like,
years ago.
I was like 17. I was 17 and I had no way of like making that happen. So it never happened until you know, like with this new record and with life, I was at a point where like I wanted to make this happen. I wanted to, like, everyone dreams about like going out to California and like chasing their dream and doing whatever. Like I always wanted to go out to California, work on a record, and spend a month out there working on a record, and then have
that's what you
something.
did.
And I did, and that's what I did.
Now we're gonna get back there. So take me back
So
to
many.
the beginning of the story then. So when did you start playing music? You said you're multi-instrumentalist, so is this like a lifelong thing?
Yeah, it was kind of my cousins. I remember like when I was little, they used to take piano lessons, and when I was 5, my mom took me to one of their recitals, and she asked me if I wanted to like do that. And when I'm 5 years old, and I'm really super excited about life and everything, so I'm like, of course.
Yeah.
But then I stuck with it for like 12 more years after that, and I was like, what?
Yeah. Do your parents play music?
They do.
Okay.
Not like
Not like musicians necessarily.
They're not necessarily musicians, but my dad would always like play guitar around the house. My mom, like, she can play guitar and piano, and
So it was there.
it was there.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so then back to where you were. So you started playing piano first?
Yeah, I started playing piano when I was 5, and then from there, I took up acoustic guitar. I guess it doesn't really matter. From there, when I was 9, I took up guitar, and then I learned the rest of it. I learned bass, learned how to play drums. More of just like because I was really fascinated with everything else, and I wanted to learn. Some of my favorite bands at that point, like, were multi-instrumentalists too, like the Rocket Summer.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be that.
You wanted to be Bryce Avery?
Yeah, I wanted to be
I think
Bryce
you're
Avery.
still kind of trying to be Bryce Avery sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. I love Bryce Avery. He's been on the show before, but
That's cool.
There are a lot of similarities. Now that you say that, I hadn't put it together before. Just you said that, I was like, oh, that clicks. It makes some sense.
Yeah, I wanted to be that kind of artist that was able to, like, take what was going on in my head and translate it out. And I didn't know a whole lot of other people that played music. Like, it's crazy because I feel like with me and my music stuff, like, growing up, I didn't have a whole lot of people who really, like, I mean, everybody else I grew up in, like, a really small school system. Like, I went to Catholic schools, and there weren't a whole lot of people in my classes, and the people who did play, like, instruments were, like, really into, like, Red Hot Chili Peppers and stuff like that. And so, like, I had to learn how to, like, play a bunch of different things so that I could make the music that I wanted to make.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I feel like we're
You're absolutely fine. Don't be nervous. You're good.
it's more of that I'm more cold than anything. Like, it's hard to form thoughts when I'm this cold.
It is cold in Detroit today. So when do you start being like, I want to have a band, I want to, like, make this a thing that I do? I mean, everyone, I guess, like, I used to do music and stuff. I remember when I first started, I just kind of was writing songs, and eventually I was like, I guess maybe I could like do this thing that other people do. So when did you decide I want to, like, have a band or be my own band? Or
Yeah. Well, I mean, I started writing songs when I was 12.
Okay.
And then from there, I didn't really think too much about it, to be honest. Like, it wasn't one of those things where, like, I had, like, a band in, like, middle school with a couple friends playing Red Hot Chili Peppers covers, because that's what I could, like, that's what I could do at that point, I guess. But really the whole reason why I started Rival Summers was because I was, like, 15 and didn't have a car, and my parents didn't want to have to, like, drive me places.
Fair enough.
And so they were saying, like, why would we, like, want to drive you out to your friend's house, come back home, and have to make that whole thing, like, make that whole commute, if there's, like, no reason for you to be there. And I understand, like, I lived like a half hour away from where I went to school, and all my friends that I made at school lived closer there.
Yeah.
And so it would be, like, a lot of time wasted, a lot of gas spent. Like, I get it now.
Yeah.
I get it now. But then when I was, like, starting this whole music thing, like, the only reason why I started playing shows and started to take this a little bit more seriously was because I wanted to, like, create these events to where my parents would be like, okay, well, yeah, like, we'll take you to this because this is something that we can enjoy. Like, this is something your friends can enjoy. Like, we're all kind of hanging out together.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so, like, I started Rival Summers on that. Like, and, I mean, I really love, like, Dashboard Confessional, and at that point it was just me and acoustic guitar. So, like, that's...
So where's that name come from?
Rival Summers?
Yeah.
It is kind of an homage to, like, that period of my life, like 15 freshman year. The summer before my freshman year of high school, both my parents were actually really super sick. My mom had complications with the surgery that she had, and my dad had a triple bypass, and all in the same.
It's, like, a heavy year.
Yeah, in the same year, and so that whole year, this was, like, prior to me, like, playing music for people and stuff like that. But, like, I started writing songs when I was 12, and so when all of that happened, like, I really turned to just playing guitar when I was home from the hospital.
Yeah.
Like, I'd spend so much time in the hospital that, like, I needed to have something to I don't know, to get me by.
That release of just getting something out there.
Yeah, or to just, like, to not be thinking about, like, the I mean, it's a heavy thing to talk about, but like the thought that like I could
You could lose them or both.
Yeah, I could lose either one or both. Like I
Yeah.
could be an orphan by the end of this year. I have no idea. It's heavy, but like that's
where you were.
That's where I was. And so like that year was one of the hardest years of my life, but through that I like found the importance and found like how music actually fit into my life,
Yeah.
rather than it being something that I kind of did as a hobby.
Yeah.
Like it became something that I turned to as a thing that like
Outlet?
my outlet, my piece. So on the flip side of that, the year after.
The rival summer, so to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So the rival summer, the opposite of that was the year after, where my parents, they both made a recovery in their own things. They both were well and healthy, and I had gotten through my first year of high school, and that summer I went to Warped Tour for the first time. I I went to summer camps to where I met so many of the friends that I still have now, and
So you had the best summer.
yeah, I had the best summer of my life at that point. And so when I don't know, rival summers comes from remembering that period of my life where it was the turning point in my life. It was my parents, that situation, this summer afterwards, I could have gone in any direction, and the name Rival Summers just represents this idea for me that even in the darkest, worst periods of time, or if I ever am in that situation again, I can remember that there's hope in the end of it. There's things to look forward to. There's always something on the horizon, even if I don't see it yet.
Yeah.
There's more coming.
And are you an only child?
Technically.
Okay.
Yeah, technically. I have older half siblings.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm an only child. So as you were talking, I was like, this sounds like how an only child talks. Because you're just me and my parents, and I'm like, that's me, right? I have those same fears. So I get where you're coming from there.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting. I like that. That's actually a really in-depth story for a band name, and I like it because most of them are it sounded cool, and you have a legitimate story. I
Yeah,
like it.
it's really funny because I talk about really loving the Rocket Summer,
Yeah.
and so people are like, "Oh, you just kind of ripped that off," but it just kind of was.
I didn't even think of it that way. Dang, you're.
I've gotten that before. I've got on band flyers at different places where I played for the first time. It's oh yeah, the Rival Summer or the Rival Summers or
Well, so how do you? This is something I was struck with today. I was listening to Undeniable in full again, and I was like, I don't know how I would describe what you do, because it's not necessarily pop rock, and it's not pop music. How do you tell people what you do?
I mean, to make it simple, I do tell people that Rival Summers is a pop band.
It's pop. Pop, I guess, is the best.
Yeah,
probably the
it's
most fitting.
broad, it's fitting. I mean, a better way to describe it is to compare it, I guess.
Yeah, and there's
And-
a lot of comparisons.
But that's also really tough too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really inspired by bands like Jack's Mannequin, The Rocket Summer, The Fray, Coldplay, Switchfoot, and even far into other bands like Walk the Moon and Neon Trees and bands like that. That's where I kind of feel like we would land as far as the sound of it.
So when did the first EP come out?
The first release was a full length in 2009,
Okay.
and that was a collection of all the songs I had written up until that point.
So from 15 onwards.
Yeah.
Basically. All right. How old were you then?
15.
So you're 24 now.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm putting it together. I'm 29. So I'm all right, where are we? Trying to comparatively figure out what you grew up listening to and stuff. So that was did you go out on tour right away? Did you play shows? When did you start doing that? How did you said it was an acoustic guitar first, so I assume at first it was you on a chair or standing.
Yeah, for 3 or 4 years it was just me. A lot of the scene at that point was I See Stars and We Came as Romans were starting to get big.
So did you get to do the local show where you the opener and then all heavy bands afterwards?
Actually, I ended up being the middle
Oh.
Like I always ended up being the middle.
Oh, yeah.
Being in between. Like I was, there'd be like 3 heavy bands, and then I'd play, and then 3 more heavy bands after that.
Okay, yeah.
And that was
yeah.
like 3 years of my life.
Whenever I used to do the acoustic thing, so that whenever I tell a story about the Michigan scene, that's how it goes. I'm always like, there's like 6 metalcore bands, and then me, somewhere in there.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. You watch like 7 guys walk off stage, you go up by yourself, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be a rough 20 minutes.
Yeah. No, but I feel like, I mean, it was such a funny way to like start.
It is. You get tough real fast though.
Yeah, exactly. Like that, I like attribute so much of my live performance and how I am as a person even, to those years of playing in those shows, because you have to kind of like, you kind of have to prove yourself.
Yeah.
You kind of have to like show that you can handle being up there. You're not just background music. You have your own value. A lot of these people came there to like mosh and to like
throw each other around.
Yeah, to like, release some pent up aggression or something. But like then I come here with like these like upbeat and like happier songs.
Yeah, love songs, pop songs.
Yeah, love songs, pop songs, like happier songs, and I like have just the same amount of energy, if not more, than the bands that are playing. I'm all over the stage, like connecting with people, making eye contact, like just kind of having to prove myself in that situation. And so it's funny. It's really funny.
It is. It's funny to look back on those times. I don't think you realize how much they like help make you a person until you get a little bit further away from them, and you're like, oh, most 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds don't just eat shit in front of a crowd or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, That's not something they do regularly. But it's like to be like, oh, I gotta win over everyone in this room. You learn how to talk to strangers.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like,
I have to learn how
like
to.
you.
I have to look at people who like are like are not. Probably not gonna like me. Like,
Yeah.
I look at this crowd and they're like, arms crossed and just kind of staring at me, being like, I didn't pay for this.
I remember hating when I would go somewhere that people could smoke, and I remember people like lighting cigarette, like you get on stage to sing with an acoustic guitar and they'd be like, light a cigarette and just blow smoke. And you're like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Some dude told me it was conversation music once. He was, oh, you play conversation music. And you play it and we just talk over it. I was like, oh, that's creative. Thanks.
Yeah, that's creative. I appreciate that.
I'm 16, thank you.
Yeah.
My self-esteem feels good. This, making me a man, I guess. So, I feel like what you do now, though, is a little bit different than just you and a guitar. Right?
Totally.
Obviously, musically.
Totally.
So when did it become like a more fleshed out project?
Around 2012, I released a record called Learning to Live.
Okay.
And that was my Bryce Avery album.
All right.
Yeah, like with every record, I had like a milestone. Like the first album was my first album.
Yeah.
My second one was like my first produced thing, I guess. Like I drove out to Indiana and worked with another artist who produced it.
Yeah. Okay.
Third EP was something. What was it? That was the first full band song that I released, was on that album, and the first one with piano.
Okay.
Piano was my first instrument, so that was a big deal for me.
Yeah,
it's like, I can finally have this.
I like that.
Yeah, and then Learning to Live was the album that I wanted to play everything on.
Okay.
And so I recorded drums, I recorded bass, I recorded like everything. And then from there I was like, okay, well at this point now, like I've been doing this acoustic thing for like how many years now? And I just recorded this album. I feel like I should probably put together a band at this point and figure that out.
Yeah.
And so from there, I met my friend Sam. He played drums for a good while, and I met a bunch of other people. There's like a revolving door of just like a bunch of friends that like came on, and it became this bigger thing. And even more so, like with that record, with Learning to Live, like that record divulged even further than just regular love songs and pop songs. I kind of like started talking about like myself and my perspective and the things that I think about outside of those topics, and I don't know, I started thinking bigger. Like up until that point it was just like me, I'm in this band and I make this music.
Mm-hmm.
But
you're in high school for most of that, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay.
Learning to Live was senior year. That was the summer after senior year where I released that one.
Okay.
And so like at that point I was like, I guess like the overarching thing, I'm talking about all these milestones, but I'm also like looking back and seeing this is my whole entire life journey in my story, like written in music.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself, like,
Yeah,
talking
you're
about
fine.
this, but, like, I feel like the whole arc of all of my discography, I guess,
Yeah.
is just it's how I told my story through music.
Okay.
And it's me, like, when you listen to the first, like, few songs that I wrote when I was 15 till now, like, you kind of see the progression of me as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And like, really incredibly humbling to, like, I mean, like, I'm 24 now.
Yeah.
Almost 10 years later, I can see my life in the last 10 years.
Most people can't do that.
Yeah.
Most people can't. I mean, they remember when they were 15, but there's just like, it's like, you know, some random thing that happened when they were 15. But you can literally listen to your creativity at 15. And be like,
Yeah.
oh, it's dumb.
Yeah,
Usually you're just like, what
yeah.
was I thinking? Because part of you, I feel like as a creative person, you find yourself in this place where, like, there's a part of you that's like, I was a genius at 15. Like, you remember feeling like you knew what you were doing.
Yeah.
And then you look back and you're like, oh, I didn't at all, though. Like, it's
Yeah.
weird how that perspective shifts, and you can still feel that other person inside. It's like, wait a minute, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. It's like a lifetime ago.
And so you got the band. Then did you start playing more shows? I take it with having a band.
It was around then where I started touring more. I built some relationships. My first tour was in 2010 with Chase Coy, Backseat Goodbye, Plug-in Stereo, playing, like.
A lot of RIPs on that tour list.
Yeah, so many RIPs on that list. Yeah, but those. That's the story of my life, man.
That's the story of any up and coming musician. A lot of RIPs.
Yeah, but that was my first tour, and I was still in high school, and so I couldn't really, like, do a whole lot of traveling. Only in the summer, and that was actually in the winter. But when Learning to Live came out, I wanted to, like, really do it. I really wanted to try. That record was like, okay, I've been doing this for 4 years. What am I doing? Like, I want this to be, like, a real thing now, and I really see this for myself, being a professional artist. And so I toured a bunch that summer. The summer of 2013 was the first time I went all the way out to California and back. Around then was when I, like, really started touring.
So then we get to Undeniable. So did you work on that in 2015, or was that all 2016?
Actually, it was from 2013. Like, some of those songs were, like, that old.
It's been a while in the making.
Yeah, that was, like, 3 years in the making.
Now, is this recorded with the whole band, or you again?
It was me and Sam.
Okay.
I recorded most of the instrumentation. Sam did all the percussion and some more, like, production. But it was the two of us going out to California and working with Jesse, and he breathed so much life into that record too. Like,
yeah. So did you have all the songs by the time you went to California?
It was I had written all of these songs over the course of, like, the 3 years. We had demoed them out prior to. We wanted to be really prepared for that, because we had set out for this thing to be a big project, and we, like, we had a Kickstarter for this. We raised over $10,000 for this record, and we wanted this to be like a real statement.
Yeah.
And so we had all these songs demoed out, and then we brought them out there and worked on them from there.
So back to the Kickstarter thing real quick.
Sure.
I know that whenever I ask, if someone I've had quite a few people tell me they talked to you at some point over the last few years, and every time it's Tired Eyes. That's the song that people are like, start at Tired Eyes. And if someone looks you up on Spotify, that's the song that has the most. That's like your thing. That's like your signature song at the moment, whether or not it's intentional.
Absolutely was not, but yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think? What happened there? How did that song kind of find that traction?
I think that one was the if you listen to Learning to Live as a whole record, that song brings the whole record together. It is like the song that pulls it all together. It's a thesis statement, I guess, for that record.
Yeah.
And it is a really super, just, like, transparent, emotional song about, like, this relationship that I was in at that point. A long distance relationship, and for it to blow up the way that it has, like, is really interesting to me, because it wasn't ever like, in my mind, it wasn't ever like a single. It wasn't ever just, like, something. It was just something I was incredibly proud of, because
this culmination.
Yeah, this culmination, like, All Is Learning to Live was a milestone for me, and that song, like, if you listen to it, it like loops, like at the end of the song, it loops back into like the beginning of the record, and so that's where my attachment comes. Like that's where
Yeah.
I'm at with it.
Yeah. Do you remember noticing people kind of gravitating towards it more than the other songs?
Honestly, no. Like
You
it
know,
was one of those.
It's just become the thing.
It was one of those things where like I think just a random playlist on Spotify picked it up,
And then
and then
that's the age we live in.
yeah, like like a song from like 3 years ago.
Yeah, it
that
just pops off. All
yeah
of a sudden.
yeah just like pops off all of a sudden. That's
It's cool.
yeah.
I'm
like incredibly grateful that
Yeah.
this song is like. I mean, like I don't ever play this song at shows, so that's a little interesting. Like it was one of those things. Like it came up out of nowhere, but because of like the success of that, of like it on like Spotify, it's paying my bills, and it's like doing like it's if I'm like just being super transparent, like as an
Yeah.
artist, like I'm
What
grateful.
more do you want? Yeah.
I'm grateful that like this song that I wrote when I was 17, 18, is still able to like be something that people can connect to. Whether it's where I'm at or not, like that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
But like I'm glad that a piece of my art like is connecting with people in that kind of way, and that I'm able to like, you know, still be creating and still be like this song is a big part of why I'm still able to do what I'm doing.
Well, all of my favorite songs are on Undeniable, so it's not
Yeah.
that you didn't peak.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't tell you how good that makes me feel.
I think, I mean, for starters, if I had to just pick, if I were to tell someone to start, I would say start with Stay, because I think that's probably my favorite song. I think it's a good representation of all
Yeah.
the things you do.
Totally.
Yeah, and it's a love song without being necessarily a love song. It's also a pop song. It's fun.
Yeah.
I dig that song, and then
That's number 2 on Spotify.
that's number 2. And then the other one that I always come back to is Slow Me Down. Just 'cause
Yeah.
as someone else that works in music, I get that.
Yeah.
Like, just even by the title alone, I'm like, oh yeah, this is one for us.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
So I guess when you were writing Undeniable and you're kind of piecing together the record, as it's over a bunch of years, I imagine you have a lot of songs you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
What was the statement you wanted to make with Undeniable? Other than the obvious.
Yeah, no, like I mean, like the name of the record's Undeniable. The first song is Undeniable. The chorus of that song is I Want to Be Undeniable.
That's it. You're right.
In that was the statement I wanted to make. Like, and I still like that is a statement I'm still trying to make to myself, and to I don't know, as an artist, as somebody who works in the creative field, as somebody who is a person. You know, like you have all these big aspirations and all these dreams, and honestly, like that record took 3 years to make because I had no idea if Rival Summers could continue.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea if this was still something that I could like keep going. And I mean, for a lot of different reasons. I mean, like a lot of relationships were let go of in that 3 years. A lot of just a lot of life happened within those
Growing
3
up
years.
and all of that.
Yeah, it was like the first 3 years after high school. Like that's
Everything changes every year almost.
yeah, everything. Yeah, like every single year since then has been a new challenge and a new thing. And Undeniable, as a record and as that one single song, was a statement to me, first and foremost, saying like I want to be undeniable. I want to be like I don't want to like deny myself of this love that I have for what I do, and I don't want to ever like let my doubt be the driving force of my decision making.
Okay.
And for the record as a whole, like it was a whole fleshed out project that I'm so incredibly proud of still, and I want this record to be something that people look at and be like, that is some good music. That's a really great record.
Now, when you have a record that you kickstart and it does that well, I mean, 10,000 is impressive for any artist, really. And then you go to record the record. Obviously, you got to assume expectations are a little high.
Yeah.
Well, I guess what were you hoping to get out of the record once it was done? Because I mean, a lot of artists, you release a record and you hope people love it. Going into the studio, you know people are at least excited for it. So, I guess what did you hope to get out of it, and has that come full circle yet? Have you gotten what you wanted to get out of Undeniable?
It's a interesting thing.
Okay.
It's a really interesting thing. I don't know. There's a quote that I had heard last week from, I don't know if you're into YouTube or anything like that, but
Yeah.
Casey Neistat. He said success isn't linear, and I think that broke my brain.
Those are the best quotes in life. The ones that you're like, oh, I have to figure out reality now.
Yeah, and so when I like heard that, and then I'm still like figuring out what my expectations were for Undeniable. If I'm being honest, I had a lot of high hopes for this one for sure, and I really thought that if I'm being honest, if I'm being transparent, I thought more would happen. But like with that said, a lot of life happened.
Yeah.
Like a lot of life happened when we released it. Like I said, like it was me and Sam, who like were the band at that point, and then
Your face is on the cover.
yeah, it's both of our faces on the cover. And so when we released the record, he moved to Nashville, and
So Sam's not with us today.
yeah, and like he received this incredible opportunity. Like as artists and as musicians and as people, we're trying to figure out like where all this fits in our lives, and he was offered this opportunity to to like make a really like substantial,
Like a living.
yeah, yeah, he was given the opportunity to make a real living, playing music, and you can never,
Can't say no to that.
you can like, yeah, you can never like, I'd never want to keep him from that. He knew what he had to do, and
I mean, yeah, that's like the always the possible outcome of like any collaboration in music is like
life.
yeah, life basically. But I mean, we talked before we started, but like you've had some like personal successes though. Like you got a lady,
Yeah,
you got a relationship. Now, is that where Not About Me comes from? Like, what's that song about?
Not About Me is actually, it's like this record, Undeniable, is like me working through my own process within myself.
So yeah, so you're just taking yourself to task. Okay.
Yeah, and Not About Me is like, I think that's a good like connecting point to like the question you asked prior. I had all these expectations for Rival Summers, and like like everybody has aspirations to like play giant rooms and to like thousands of people and all of these things, but Not About Me is a song that consistently puts me in check. It's it's not about like, none of this is really sincerely about me.
Yeah.
Like I'm putting my life out for people to look at and to glean whatever they want to off of. But at the end of the day, the music that I make, like once I release it, is not mine anymore. It's not only just my story. It's something that people can, and that's another thing with like when you look at Tired Eyes, like that song has connected with so many different people. That's a part of my life that doesn't belong to me anymore. And so Not About Me, that song is me saying to myself, like, even if this were to end, if Rival Summers were to stop after this conversation that we have right now, like, it's cool. Like,
Yeah.
It hurt, but like, at the end of the day, if what I was meant to do was put my life out there in this way, and that's it,
Yeah.
then I'm cool with that.
I was at the Mall of America the other day with Mod Son, the rapper.
Sweet.
And his album had just come out. I was at an album release party with him, and I was doing a few minutes before he went on stage, and there were all these kids down on the floor waiting to see him. And we can see them, and we're kind of watching them, and I was like, so like, what now? Like, what are you thinking? And he basically said what you just said, where he was like, I've made something that I'm at least satisfied with. I'm happy with what I did. Like, I feel like it represents who I am. And so if I die tomorrow, I can at least know that I've done something that I feel puts me out there. Like,
Yeah.
I made something that was me, and I shared it with the world. And maybe it doesn't go platinum, maybe it doesn't sell 1 million records, but people will know me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they will connect me. They'll carry it with them. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was like, and I've spent a lot of time with him, and obviously he's a little bit bigger than you or I. He's found a little bit more success, but I think that point is still kind of what you're always aiming for. Is like, there's that little narcissistic part of you that's like, I'd like to be something more than just some person that exists and isn't a thing, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
We all
Yeah.
want a little more, but I think that's the cool thing about like how you said it. You said, Maybe it didn't go the way you wanted it to, but for those people that funded the record, there's a very good chance that Undeniable was exactly what they wanted.
Yeah,
And it did
exactly.
exactly what they wanted it
Exactly.
to do.
Like these people like funded this record. They made it happen. Like I mean, I wrote the songs and everything, but they made this record happen. And if all that this record was meant to do was to like serve those people,
Yeah.
then I'm so incredibly grateful.
That's more than most people ever get to do.
Yeah, like this is like I got to go to California.
Yeah, exactly.
I got to like write and produce a record with one of my heroes. Like I got to, you know, I'm still getting to play these songs live, and I still get to do this, and I don't know, it's special.
So what comes next? So that was last year, Undeniable. When did it come out, like month wise?
April.
Yeah. No,
So
you're on like a 6-year cycle for records. So 2022 is the next Rival Summers release.
Yeah, that's probably the plan. I think. Yeah.
I haven't gotten to see you live yet, but I assume you're always writing. So like, are you?
Yeah.
So what have you been working on since Undeniable? And what are you writing about? Maybe is the more interesting question to me.
It's always me trying to figure out my life, and I think this is one of those interesting years where like
you're about to get married.
I'm about to get married.
You should probably figure yourself out first a little bit. Yeah? I got married last year, so I figured. I'm telling you in hindsight, make sure you got yourself down.
Yeah, no, totally. And so like that's a lot of what I'm writing about is just like, you know, my relationships, and I think that like even when I was working on Undeniable, I knew that the next record or next project would be a lot more based around the relationships of my life. Obviously the one with my fiance, now with like my parents and with my friends, and how like our relationships are shifting and how life is going. Like that's kind of where I'm at like in my head right now, and that's what I'm writing about. But I'm taking my time. Like I'm not saying that I'm not going to put out new music soon, because that's what I want to do. I want to put out new music soon, but I think I want to respect the process of me growing into the person that I'm supposed to be.
Do you think you'll keep doing records or like albums, or do you think you could get into the singles thing? Because it seems like you have the kind of fan base where like if you just wanted to do like I'm going to release one song a quarter or something like that, you could do that and people would be into it.
Yeah, I want to be a little bit more self-sufficient to where I can be releasing music more frequently. And if it kind of like I'm in my mind right now, you're listening to me process right now.
That's fine.
I'm thinking that that's kind of where I'm leaning towards. Like I'll be releasing more like singles or like that kind of thing. But I'll always like have like a full project in mind. Like whether, I mean, if you look at like Sleeping at Last, he has like projects where he releases a single every single month, but they all tie into the same like theme. That's something I'm playing with, and I mean, we're here at Assemble. Like I said earlier, I just became a resident artist.
So yeah, you could turn a whole project around in here without leaving the building.
Yeah, and so like I'm grateful for that, like just falling into my lap, and for that's my goal for this year, is to become an artist who's able to release music a little bit more frequently, so that I'm able to like share more of like what's going on in my life as it's happening, rather than like have it be like a retrospective like Undeniable was, or you know.
Now the fiance, how do they feel about the music career, the music thing?
It's okay,
because you play live. There's a lot that comes with loving an artist of any kind, but a musician is a specific brand of crazy. So So how do they take it?
Yeah, so I met Brittany when I was 16.
Okay.
We dated in high school for 6 months, and she actually, I met her at one of my shows.
All right. Now, had she come to see you?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Started off on good ground.
Yes. Yeah, and she came to see me at a show that I played in at Lakeside Mall.
All right.
At Hot Topic.
Yeah.
Like they were when they still had like acoustic stuff.
Acoustic shows on Hot Topic. Yeah, I remember. Okay.
Yeah, and so we met there, and she is amazing. I mean, I've dated other people, and everybody takes this thing different. Everybody reacts to this kind of thing differently. But Brittany has always been like solid as far as like really believing in the worth of what I'm doing, and knowing that I'm not trying to be a rock star. Like I'm not trying to be that, like live that life of, like I'm not trying to do anything sketchy. Like I'm trying.
You make such feel good and it's almost innocent music to a level that it's like, there's just no, there's no worry in that way.
Yeah, like that's never a thought of mine.
And if it was you, it would make no sense given the kind of music you perform. I feel like this makes no sense.
Yeah.
So that plays into it. Okay.
I don't know, people see right through that stuff. So like, why would I ever want to try to fake people out? But man. No, but she's always been so incredibly like supportive, because she has seen like how much I've grown through it. Even now, like I mean, not to say that like she doesn't ever like get annoyed when people are like kind of like fawning or like swarming around.
Or you're stuck in the middle of trying to create something and it's driving you crazy. So you're driving her crazy. Yeah, I know. That's a normal one. So like you're like, I got to go to California for a month to record a record. She's like, go.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, like she said,
that girl. That's
like last year, she's when we got engaged, she was just like, I feel like 2018 is going to be a really great year for you. And it's like, where's this coming from? Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm looking at 2017 right now. Like, what? Like, she's like, well, I mean, like, I'm just thinking, like, we're going to get married in 2017. We're going to be like doing all that stuff. I mean, when we're married, 2018, go on tour, like do your thing. And I'm like, wow.
I will tell you that there is this weird thing that happens in a post-marriage world where like the first few months is really exciting. You're like kind of getting used to like the marriage thing and you don't think it would be such a big adjustment. And then you get into this point where I was talking to my buddy Brad, who owns the website Bloody Disgusting, and he was actually the one that shared this nugget with me. And he was like, you reach a point after marriage where you're just like, oh, so this is just my life now. Like, I don't have to go out because she's here. And you're like, so I guess I just do this thing I do, and then eventually I die. I was like, that's a more roast way to say it. He goes, I know, but like, what else do you have to do? And I was like, I guess you're right, man. So she might be onto something there. 2018 might be the year.
And like that gave me so much hope. Like that, like, man, when like all the culmination of the stuff that happened after Undeniable was released, like like I can't lie and say that I wasn't discouraged. Like when the album came out and when all these plans that I had kind of had to like fall to the wayside as I was trying to rebuild this thing for like the months afterward and trying to understand how can I do this as a solo artist again. Like I'm still playing with a band, but like this is my sole project again. What does that look like? And so with her saying that, with her being so encouraging always about like this thing, even giving me like ideas as to how to make this better, I couldn't have, I don't know, I could spew so much about Brittany, like not even just because I'm trying to like win brownie points or anything. She's the best.
Well, I mean, she's gonna listen to this, and she's definitely the best. Hi, Brittany. So, immediate future, what do you got going on? You got shows coming up or anything?
We are. I keep saying we, like that's it's I'm
a
still
new thing.
It's a new thing. I'm trying to like understand what does that look like. Do I still say we or do I say I? But Ravel Summers has dates at the end of April. April 22nd, we're playing Stoop Fest in Lansing, and then from
Stoop.
Yeah, Stoop Fest.
Okay.
It's a house show festival.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Go on.
It's sweet. Like there's, I've never played it, but like they have a bunch of different houses in the neighborhood where they like have different people playing, kind of like like Warped Tour or like Bloodfest or
Just houses.
Just houses.
Right.
And that is
It's a
dope.
cool idea.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. So April 22nd is Stoop Fest in Lansing.
Now, is that you solo or you have the band with you?
The band.
Okay.
Full band.
I'm just going to call them the band.
Yeah. So playing there, and then Chicago on the 27th of April at Township. Ferndale on the 28th at the Loving Touch. 29th is in Akron in Musica. And then the 30th is in Columbus at Roomba Cafe.
Columbus. I like Columbus.
Yeah. I'm excited for that. And then two more.
Bloodfest.
I'm playing at May 27th up in Heartland, and Kalamazoo on the 6th of May. All of those are out of order.
Where's the Kalamazoo show?
Shakespeare's Pub.
I've never been there.
It's really sweet.
Yeah. Kalamazoo's like got a music scene since I moved out of Michigan, which is how things happen.
Yeah, it's really funny how like the West Side is really starting to pop with like a bunch of different people, and I'm excited to just be playing out there more. But most of those dates I'm playing with, I'm supporting the band Vespertine.
Okay.
And then also my friends in the band Shiny Penny. They're from Indianapolis. So I'm playing with those guys for most of those.
Chicago, Akron.
Yeah.
All that.
Chicago,
Ferndale,
Akron, and
Columbus.
then Columbus was with Shiny Penny.
Okay, Columbus is Shiny Penny. We got it.
Yeah.
People can just rewind and they'll piece it together.
Yeah, if you want more information, just go to rivalsummers.com/tour.
/tour. All right, and then all your handles are Rival Summers.
Yeah.
It's you have a brand no one else has stolen yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, pretty happy about that.
And everyone, it was perfect timing. So Undeniable's out now. It's on Spotify. It's on SoundCloud. It's on everything. Do you have one social network you tell people to go to more than others? Facebook, Twitter?
I've been using a lot more of like Instagram and Twitter lately, but definitely go to the Facebook. I do post a lot of updates, like more like informational like stuff.
Well, I mean, 6 years in between records, I would assume there's a lot more informational updates.
Yeah, but yeah, so just Facebook, Twitter, Instagram are the mains. If you want to go to the website, then that's where most or all of the information is.
Yeah. Well, man, that's great. Thanks for talking to me today. And thanks for showing me this place, even though we're freezing to death. And I hope you don't get a cold.
No, it's okay. I'm used to it at this point. But thank you for talking to me. Thank you for letting me talk about all this.
No, and I guess now in 2018, we got to sit down again and be like, was she right?
Yeah.
If she's not, we won't admit it.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
Of course.